I went to go to work today. That shit wasn't gonna leave
Spanish minor. No matter how good it's Spanish. I'll bring it around here. Just so you guys want to do it. Oh, wait.
I went to go to work today. That shit wasn't gonna leave Spanish minor. No matter how good it's Spanish.
Welcome back to Beery Good Entertainment, everybody. This is episode 74, recorded December 11th, 2019. Yes, we're recording a little earlier in the week. That's because our co-host Lola Laracy won't be able to be here on Saturday, but we're so happy to have her with us today to be able to talk about our topic, active shooters. But first, Lola, how are you doing today?
Oh, I thought you were calling for beer. I want a beer. I've only had one beer in the last week and a half.
So you're in the mood for beer. Just to go for it. Go for it.
This is a New Belgian triple. When I was in Louisiana, I picked up a 6-pack of various beers, and this was one of them. And so,
is that now? That's TRIPEL, right?
Yeah, it's a triple. New Belgium. I can't. Where's my camera? Can you see?
There you go. Mostly. Go ahead and pour it. Go ahead and pour it,
Okay.
and we'll see it that way.
New Belgium. I can't really read very well. These contacts, before I went to this new eye doctor 2 years ago, my contacts were fine. I was happy. I just didn't like my doctor or the doctor's office. So I went to a new doctor's office, and this guy won't let me have the contacts that I had. And these, they're horrible. And I've tried different ones, and I don't like any of them. So now most of the time at work, I wear my glasses. Vanity kind of left me a while ago anyways. Okay, so.
That sucker sure has a nice head on it.
Yes, it does. Look at that. All right.
Everybody knows how much I like head.
I didn't say it, but everyone thinks it. When someone says head, everyone thinks it. Lots of bubbles. It looks like the champagne of beers. So now triple is usually kind of like sweet, isn't it? Wouldn't you say?
A triple is New Belgium's triple is a big, beautiful Belgian style ale brewed with Pilsner and Munich malts. So yes, it should be a bit citrusy, sweet, satisfying.
It smells good. I definitely smell like the yeast, like the Belgian yeast, how it has its own odd smell, but good. I smell it. I got it. And it kind of has this citrus smell. I think the Belgian yeast always smells kind of citrusy anyways. Definitely smell the malt. It smells like it's going to be like almost like a little bit molassesy, which I'm in the mood for since I haven't had a beer I only had one beer in a week and a half. So I'm ready.
Wow.
That's really good. Not as molassesy as I was thinking it might be. It's still, it's not too heavy, but it's not thin either. Easily, huh?
I missed a few words. Was that me or was that just a hiccup?
For a second.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was just saying it goes down very easily. It's very drinkable, not too thick, but not watery either. It's really kind of that awesome. Perfect mess. This would be a great beer if you're going to be out in a bar and you're going to have a few. Drink this because I don't think you'll get tired of it. I don't think it'll become too much.
It's definitely like it's a honey orange.
Honey.
Honey. Yeah, honey. It's a honey orange type. And it looks it too. It has the exact shade of honey orange and an almost absolutely clear. I can see through your glass.
It's pretty cool. And it's got some bubbles. Yeah, it is really nice. Definitely honey. That's what I was trying to say when I was saying molasses. It's honey-like, but it's not slathered on. It's just a very light hint of honey and definitely some orange. I definitely get that citrusy, which I love. I am very much enamored with this.
New Belgium is still great for introducing people to different styles of beer. That's not overwhelming in any sense. And if you want more, you can go out and find more.
Yeah. And I mean, I could probably find this at the Total Wine here. I just haven't been to Total Wine in a long time. But I saw it and I was like, I bet I'll like that. And I was right. I do like it. I'm pretty good at it.
Definitely a good buy and definitely worth the money because you're getting a Belgian at a decent price.
Definitely. Oh, it is so good.
Well, I'm going to start out with a beer that I'm not drinking. This is Jubilale by Deschutes.
Nice.
And actually, I will pour it if somebody will give me their glass. This one is specifically this one is specifically for the producer, because the producer really loves this winter ale. This winter ale is 6.7% by Deschutes, and Deschutes again is another good company for trying different styles of beers. This one is just like mid-range 65 IBU. So if you're kind of looking for a nice, easy IBU for a winter ale, but something that's that's going to give you the flavor of winter, then Jubilale is definitely Jubilale is definitely up your alley.
Does it say what spices they use?
I don't actually have it down. Robust malt, toffee, dusted with cocoa.
All right.
And it's an original since 1988.
Maybe they don't use spice. Maybe it's just a cocoa thing.
Pardon me.
Oh, that's okay.
I need to switch. Sorry, just getting over a cold.
Oh, no, I hear it. That's horrible.
There we go.
Chug, chug, chug. Ooh, look at that.
Dark.
Chocolate looking.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, I want that so badly. Got a little bit of bubbly. Look, it's bubbling really fast.
Nice head. Nice head that goes away a little bit.
And it is opaque. I cannot see through it.
Lovely malty aroma.
Oh, that looks so good.
Just a sip to coat the throat. And then I'm going to hand this over. This is really a favorite. He always has to take a sip.
I know. That looks so good.
Right to the mouth. I hope my eyes. Darn cold.
Oh.
Oh, I'm. Someday we're gonna have to talk about makeup, because I love my eyeliner.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jubilale is just a really great, especially if you love the winter flavors. I didn't actually see any the spices on it, but the nice rich maltiness. We had a couple of years where the winter ales were iffy, and now they seem to be right back to where they were. Like all the winter ales are exceptionally good.
Oh, and I've noticed for a long time people put their efforts more on the summer beers and the IPAs, and sometimes the winter beers would be an afterthought. And I'm like, hey, I love winter, which makes me wonder, why am I in Florida? Oh, family, that's right.
Yeah.
So I love winter stuff. I want all the spice. I want all of it. All of it.
Well, I'm gonna break the rule. I've been looking for a Hub's abominable ale. I can never say it. Which is also winter ale, but I have not actually found a single yet.
Okay.
I don't want to buy a 4-pack. I just want to buy a single.
Yeah. Have you had it before?
I have multiple years in a row, and I really like that. That's also a really great winter ale. So the second I see a single of it in a market, I'll grab it. This I had to have because Riverbend is a brewery here in Bend, and unfortunately, recently they just had to shut their pub. The brewery is still open. Yeah, the brewery is still open, but the pub has closed. So now all we're going to get is what we get in cans.
And I saw this pop-up maybe, or tap takeovers.
Yeah, they do tap takeovers. Like they send out foods and stuff, which is nice. But I love the fun they have with their beers. And this is Capri Fun.
Oh my God, that's awesome. It looks fun.
It does.
That's
And it's
fun.
strawberry kiwi, which I couldn't resist because I was in a mood for fruit.
Yeah.
This is 8.2%
Whoa.
double IPA.
Dang, you're gonna be under your seat. You're gonna be like,
Well, I hope not. I hope not. I still have other beers.
well,
Wow, it's like a golden yellow.
look at that. It looks like Capri Sun. I wonder
And I don't necessarily have to drink it all right now. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It looks like it's not as clear as the Capri Suns are.
That's
But
because it's got
it's got a lovely bright color. I was expecting it to be red.
Well, Capri Suns can be yellow. It depends on what kind. Although usually, since they're in the silver packet, I really don't know what they look like.
Double IPAs are really great for the sweetness. So making this a double IPA was a brilliant idea.
Okay.
It definitely smells like double IPA.
Okay.
I smell a little bit of strawberry, a little bit of kiwi, lots of hops.
Okay.
Lots and lots of hops.
Well, and as I discussed before, I like Citra hops. I don't like, I forget the name of it, but the kind that just tastes like hay. I don't like that.
Yeah,
Citra hops. Or Galaxy hops.
Well, this is a milkshake IPA, so it actually has strawberries, kiwis, milk, sugar, and real vanilla in it.
Yeah, I would probably like that because I usually don't like straight IPAs. But if it's kind of got all that in it, although it makes me wonder about the calories. Oh,
wow.
Is it good?
Wow, this is amazing. Like, you don't get it in the aroma, but you get it right across the tongue like this. It's all strawberry and kiwi and sweet and like rich, milky.
Like a smoothie.
Like
they should like a smoothie. Yeah. That's so funny because you don't see that because it's so clear. You can't imagine it could have all that.
Yeah, it's a lovely yellow. Well, it's kind of a tinged orange, more yellowish, more golden yellowish than anything.
Goldenrod, which was the color I always used for Barbie's hair in my coloring books. Goldenrod.
Oh,
her hair was always goldenrod.
And the head is gone. It leaves a little bit of lacing on the glass. It's not thick, but it is rich.
Good. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that there's all that in there because it just it doesn't seem that intensive. So it's deceptively,
and it's only 55 IBUs. So you're not getting smacked around with alpha hops.
When they say double hops, though, I mean, I guess
double IPA. Double IPAs are usually a little sweeter than just regular IPAs.
So it's not just double hops?
It's not just double hops. It's double. It refers to the strength of the beer.
Oh, I always thought it meant double hops and triple hops.
This is at 8.2%. This is definitely a double.
And see, I tend to like, when it comes to IPAs, I tend to like doubles and triples because usually there's usually some malts going on and there's enough to kind of masquerade the overt hops taste. Depending on how
it's fermented, a lot of the residual sweetness from the malts can remain behind. And depending on the hops you use, you can get a lot of alpha acid, which is that bitterness.
Yeah, I don't like
that. In this case, they've chosen to really dial back the alpha hops, which was a perfect idea because it tastes like a milkshake, and I'm getting all the strawberry and kiwi off it.
That sounds so good.
Riverbend. I am really pleased with this right now. It's really refreshing and very satisfying. It's so tasty in a fruity way.
We need to do that. I think we used to do when we have a positive review, we should include them in the tweet. That way, maybe they'll retweet it. because that'll give us some more maybe viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do with bad reviews because that's just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
But good reviews, I would do that.
And our producer says that he's really liking this year's Jubilee,
Awesome.
which
Yay,
is
Jubilee.
great job, Deschutes. If the producer likes the winter ale, you're in.
So this is a win for New Belgium, Deschutes, and Riverbend. And I'm going to have another one later. I have another one in the refrigerator. If we're still going when I'm done with this one, I'll open it up.
Yeah, I actually have 2 more.
All right.
We got I went a little Hago mad because I've had a cold for a couple of days and I haven't really been able to taste a whole lot. So, I walk into Bayway Market and like, I've hit heaven. I just want this and this and this. And I couldn't help myself. It was great.
Sometimes I'm like, I want this. That's why I haven't been to Total Wine in a long time. Because if I go into Total Wine and I have money,
yeah, I know. Then you don't have money when you leave.
And I have $100 worth of stuff. It's so sad. I remember one time I went into Total Wine, and what is it that she said? She said something like, "You probably want a box." The way she said it, you probably want. I know. I was like,
it's when you've been in there so often that you just walk in and they automatically hand you a box as you walk in.
Yes, give me a box. Yes, I need a box. And for some
reason, assign somebody to follow you, take your stuff.
That would be nice. I would like that. They don't get that personal with me.
May I carry your 6-packs, ma'am?
Now, see, I probably told you this. It was kind of sad, but Beer 30.
Mm-hmm.
I was all excited because the guy, he doesn't work there anymore. But the guy, when I told him about the show we do and everything, and he was like, "Oh, let me give you I don't remember what he called it, but like the vendor discount or professional discount or something." Yeah. I was like, "I'm a professional." And every time I would go in, I would be like, "Oh, I'm in the system. I have the special discount." I'm like, "Oh, I'm in there." And then one day, not too long ago, maybe a year ago or something, I went, I started to check out and I forgot to tell the person. And the person said, "Oh, yeah, you're part of our loyalty program. You get the 10%.
Oh.
That guy was just shooting hot air up my ass. It wasn't a professional program. It was just the loyalty program. I was like, yes,
give me my 10%. You feel special, right?
Until that moment when I found out it was just a loyalty program that anyone gets. And I was like, why didn't you just tell me it was a damn loyalty program? All this time I've been like, I've got this special discount because I'm like a professional. And I should be in the system because like I do videos. And like I come in here a lot and I spend a lot of money. So I should be in the system. You see, yeah, 10%. That's right. That's me. Oh my God. All these years of doing that. And it was the loyalty program. I'm like, and the look, I'm sure the look I gave was, yeah, that's me. Loyalty program. Whatever. I don't remember why I said that.
But they consider you a loyal customer.
I am loyal because I pretty much go there because I haven't been to Total Wine in probably a year. And Beer 30 is a little bit closer. And it's less stressful than going to where Total Wine is. So Clint is more likely to take me to Beer 30. So I have to, be strategic in my request from him. So he'll take me to Beer 30. Awesome. Well, speaking of which, they're home. I think they brought food.
Food is good.
I know.
Beer is good.
Oh God.
Yeah.
The more beer I drink, the more food I eat. I'm like, during our 8-hour session Saturday night.
Oh,
I took half of a Panera sandwich and just shoved it in my mouth. Oh. I was like, it's 2:00 in the morning.
Well, we definitely need beer to kind of get through our topic today.
And I tell you, this is close because I'm in Florida and I work for the Navy, and we've had 3 incidents in the last week. 3.
Yep.
We had another incident today.
Yeah, in the news, and I'm actually bypassing beer news today to give us relevant
Okay.
news. December 10th, which was yesterday, the Jersey City shooting
That was
occurred,
horrible.
which is recognized as our 19th national mass shooting.
And it's seeming like this was a hate crime against Jewish people.
Well,
It's seeming that way.
we don't actually know. 6 people were killed, including the initial officer. Detective. Actually, I'm going to refer to him as his proper title. Detective Seals. Detective Seals was a long-term police officer responsible for removing guns off the street. So yesterday he was he was actually on a case where he was trying to investigate a gun crime, and he approached a couple of people at a cemetery who turned around and shot him. They then escaped in a truck and fled to a kosher market where they traded gunfire with officers and struck bystanders for about 15 minutes.
Damn.
3 people in the market were killed, as well as the 2 shooters and Detective Seals. By late Tuesday, Mayor Steven, I hope I don't butcher this, Fulop, said that officials believed that the shooters did target the market, but they have not revealed an explanation. So, pardon me. I'm not absolutely sure it was anti-Semitism, but the fact that they chose a market which was directly attached to a Jewish school.
It's a Hasidic area. Those people are they're like closed, regular people don't come in there, I don't think. I mean, if you're there, you're going to be Hasidic. So it's like, what were you doing there if it wasn't specifically towards Jewish people? You know what I mean? It feels like it was a hate crime.
It does feel like it was a hate crime, but I don't know the area.
No.
I don't know. I have no idea whether the police may have guided them into that area to prevent them from going somewhere else. Sometimes in these situations, it is a very difficult decision where you want those shooters to go, because if you can't stop them immediately, if you can't get in front of them and cut them off, your best bet is to guide them to a place where they will do the least damage.
And that's a lot of responsibility, deciding almost like who's going to be in harm's way and who's not.
Yeah, or if they can actually get them or not. If they had let them go into a more crowded part of the city, they may have lost them altogether, and that is something you really don't want. But I don't know the area. I don't know the area.
I don't know the first thing about that area. I've never even been there.
I do feel incredibly bad that a man who had worked for the police department for that long, trying to get guns off the streets, was killed.
Yeah.
That's a loss we can't afford. I detest that. I am glad that they said 2 shooters. I don't know how many shooters there were.
I think we're still learning a lot about it. One article I read, a bystander said there were 200 shots. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know how you can count 200 shots, but that's what one of the people said.
I will actually believe that, because in one of the videos, I heard gunfire from the incident. It was definitely multiple .45 calibers and a lot of shots. I mean, from multiple weapons, you could hear it.
So there's got to be more than one person, don't you think?
Oh,
Or could
yes,
that have
it
been?
was.
Okay.
No, they definitely identified at least two. They didn't identify them, but they stated that there were at least two shooters that
They heard two people.
they
Yeah.
killed them. So they
Oh,
do have the bodies of two shooters.
okay.
But I'm not sure. There could have been more than two shooters, and they may have a suspect in custody they're not telling us about. It's only been one day.
They
And
won't let them know till they're ready.
there was a threat against a local high school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All day today, there were officers at local elementary schools and high schools because somebody had said that there was going to be a similar incident the next day.
Oh,
Somebody threatened it.
horrible.
Yeah. So that's. I feel bad for that neighborhood, not only because this happened, but because of the ongoing fear. I saw many statements saying, we haven't heard this in quite a while. So this is something they live with.
Yeah. We can't imagine. I mean, I don't particularly adhere to any religion, but I have never been in a position where my religion could get me killed.
Yeah.
I've just never been in that because I'm agnostic. I don't adhere to anything. I'm kind of always been on the sidelines, like that's all messed up. So I've never been in that position, and I can't imagine it. I really can't. And I just think about that. They don't feel safe, and these people are Americans. They're Americans. Yes. And I feel even worse for them because I was telling someone today, these were Hasidic Jewish people. And to me, in my limited knowledge, to me, that means that they were not quite of our culture. And why I say that makes me feel worse is I feel like we're intruding upon them. It makes me feel worse because they're trying to live a peaceful life. They have, from what I understand, a simple life. And aspects of our culture are ripping their simple life apart. And I feel awful. Not that it's my fault, not that I had anything to do with it, but it's just a visceral feeling like we suck.
Yeah, I don't ascribe to any particular religion either. I may lean towards some, but I do not know what it is like to be targeted because of my religion.
Me neither.
I have seen people targeted for their religion. I've never been in an active shooter situation, but in the Navy, we were trained for active shooter situations. I can only imagine from paintball situations, simulations, how it must feel to have somebody take you hostage.
And a simulated situation will never feel like the real thing.
No, it doesn't, because you always know it's not real and you're never, you're not going to die.
It's never the same. And that's another thing I was telling I work for the Navy. So I've been talking about this with a lot of people. And one of the things I said today, and they make this point in the training we take, that, you may think, oh, I know exactly what I'll do. It's no problem. But you don't know until it happens. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what you're going to feel. You don't know what's going to happen. You need to be prepared. You need to take every possible doubt that you can out of your mind as much as you can, because it's going to happen fast. And it says even in the training we take, it can be 15 or 20 seconds. It happens fast. And you need to make that decision within a second. What are you going to do? You can't be like, you need to know what you're going to do. So, and, I think my point is, until it happens, we won't really know.
Yeah.
And I hope to God it doesn't happen to any of us. But I mean, apparently it's happened to some people. It has happened to some people, and that could be you, that could be me, that could be someone we love, someone we know. I mean, it could be anybody. We had a mass shooter here in Jacksonville a little over a year ago. And you know, I've been in the restaurant where it happened. I was only in there once, but I've been in there, and all it takes is a little bit of fate for me to be in the place where this happens. And so I just think we need to be mindful. You know, it's sad because we kind of, I guess maybe growing up, I had this innocence where, you know, I thought nobody's going to hurt me. Who cares about me? No one's going to hurt me. But now I understand that it doesn't matter about you. They're not trying to hurt you, but if you're in their way, you're going to get hurt. And so I guess we all kind of need to be we need to be very mindful. Just be aware. And I think the training will tell you, be aware of your surroundings. When you go in a place, pay attention, look for the exits. And we'll probably get to this later, but there are specific guidelines that you should take if you find yourself in that situation.
I know we have a question from Twitch. Altamore is asking, were the shooters in Jersey City connected? Two of them definitely were, because the detective approached them and they got in a truck together and left the area. So those two shooters were connected. I don't know if those two shooters were the ones that police killed.
Yeah. We'll find out later. They release information a little bit at a time.
Mm. But at least two got in the truck together and left the area together to go to the market.
I just can't imagine it. I just can't. People living their lives. People just trying to live their effing lives.
Now, your training, which it probably much different than mine.
Probably very similar.
Part of it was probably similar. Did your training actually focus on what to do if a shooter came to you?
Well,
or if the shooting just happened in the area?
Ours is from the perspective of the civilian.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I haven't even finished this beer and it's already affecting me. Ours is from the perspective of the civilian who has no gun training and is just doing their office job. So our training, which is pretty much the same as what we found online, if you become aware of a situation, the first preferable option is to try to escape. If you think you can get out, get out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think that you'll be in the way, your next option is to hide. Preferably find an office where you can lock the door, put heavy furniture in the door, silence your cell phone because you don't want your cell phone to go off and the shooter hear you. Get away from the door because from what I understand, a lot of times the shooter will just shoot at a door. So get away from the door, get away from the wall that's facing out, get back, preferably behind some furniture if you can. And it actually goes into a more detail, and I hope I don't get this wrong. If I get this wrong, please forgive me. Everybody look this up for yourselves. No, I'm not going to try because this beer is affecting me and I don't get it wrong. I don't want to get it wrong.
Well, this sounds very much like ready.gov's recommendations.
I think it's all the same.
Pretty much run. The only three words they use are run, hide, fight.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go get another beer too.
Okay.
While I'm getting it, we'll talk about fight in a minute, but while I'm getting a beer, if you want, you can talk about
well, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my beer.
Oh, you got a beer. All right,
I got another one.
Yeah, you go. I'm gonna go.
So another one, this one I'm going to share with our producer. This is from Schmaltz Brewing. It's called Messiah Brown Ale. I believe I have had this before in bottles. Now they're canning, which is a great idea. Messiah Brown Ale. Oh, I better bring up the show notes. Messiah Brown Ale is 5.2%, which makes it a great end of the day beer. It is a lovely, lovely brown color. Very
I'm gonna go back.
beautiful, dark brown, lovely off-white head.
And just to see you.
Smells like it smells like coffee and nuts. I'm gonna hand
I'm gonna put this yogurt in the freezer. Did you get food?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Here we go. Hand this over, and I'm gonna fill up mine. I don't actually want a whole lot of this because I still have a third beer yet. Dark brown. You can smell the coffee and the nuts in this. I believe this is the same brown ale. We don't actually get a whole lot of brown ales down here. This does taste like Messiah's nut brown ale. I still taste lots of nuts in this. Just a hint of roasty, and it is very chocolatey, coffee, nut, mostly nutty, which is absolutely delicious. And I'm going to move on again to, I didn't see this. I believe this came in after our interview at Bayway Market. This is Wild Ride Brewing's.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Cold Chillin' Vanilla Cream Ale. I'm going to pour this one because I'm not going to take too long to drink that brown ale. Already from way back here, I could smell the vanilla. My goodness, this beautiful, clear, gold, cream-colored head, just a tiny, thin head. Yep. Vanilla, and it's like a very clear orange. Wow, this vanilla through and through. All vanilla all the time. Wild Ride, you do beautiful things with vanilla.
It's a wild ride.
It is a wild ride because the flavors from Wild Ride just go through they just all over the place.
Good for them.
Fantastic. And the vanilla cream ale is 4.8%. Drink it any time of day and night you want. Have a morning beer.
As long as you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, as long as you're not driving, have a morning beer. It's not illegal to have it before work. Writers who work at home.
If you work at home for yourself. If you work for yourself. It's not illegal to drink before you go into your office job, but you will get fired if they figure it out.
It depends on the job. So know your employee laws.
Got that one right. And I got a beer too.
Lovely.
This is a Louisiana brewer called Abita. They always do good stuff. And when I go to Louisiana, I get their special stuff. I get the stuff I don't get here. This is an amber. Yeah, this is an amber. And they usually do pretty good ambers. Very, very more golden than really red. Oh, I kind of botched the pouring.
That's okay, but you got the pinky right.
I know, I did the pinky. Okay, now it's getting more red. Now that it's settled, it's definitely a little bit more red, like a burnt orange color. Got lots of bubbles going on. A little bit more head because I didn't quite pour it right, but that's okay. That's just me. It happens. It's really just a very amber smell. You got a little bit of hops, a little bit of malt. Solid amber. This reminds me, there's a Middle Ages festival that Clint and I would go to every year. We haven't been in a few years, but we would go every year. And there's a red ale that they sell there that I really like. And so I get that every time. And this reminds me of that, which, you know, solid red ale. That's what I think about when I think about red ale. And so it reminds me of the beer I would get at this Middle Ages fest. So now I feel this urge to sit on a wooden bench with hay around me and watch acrobats and folk singers. So if anyone wants to do acrobats or folk singing, please, I would like that now.
Just show up in Lola's front garden and, you know.
Let's do some filking and some acrobats and maybe some body comedy. We could do
Bawdry
that
comedy, yes. Body comedy.
Gosh, now I want to go. I want to go so badly right now. It's not until January. Maybe Clint and I will go this year.
Well,
but we have
brown ales are pretty hard to find here. So I'm really glad to see Messiah in cans. And don't forget, if you are in an area where you like ESBs but you don't get them, amber ales are your next best bet, because they are so similar as to be almost non-recognizable. Choose an amber and you'll probably satisfy that taste you're looking for in an extra special bitter.
Yeah, I like ambers. Because it's a solid beer. I mean, you can't really mess it up. If you mess it up, you're doing something wrong.
Yep.
It's another one of those beers, huh?
Yeah. Well, now that we've had a small break,
and let's get back to this serious subject. We don't want to taint the serious subject with us being goofy, because this is very serious. There are people out there whose families aren't going to get to see them for Christmas or Hanukkah. Has Hanukkah already happened? I'm not sure. But my point is, this is very serious. There are people whose lives have been disrupted forever because of this. Their fathers aren't coming home. Their mothers aren't coming home, brothers, daughters, sons. So this is something that affects everybody. And it's something that we should all really just be horrified by. And everyone should say, this isn't going to happen anymore. This can never happen again. And I don't know what it takes to make everyone say that.
Well, I'd like to go over, because I asked the question on Twitter from Beery Good Entertainment, should we be having active shooter drills in our schools?
I would say so.
Well, one of our listeners, Sandy, responded, if I was American, Sandy is Canadian.
Yeah.
I would have better school programs for kids to vent. Active school shoots are people whom are fed up of being bullied. Time to try to find a way to reach out to local kids again. So that brought up my question to myself, who exactly are the shooters? Who are now just baseline, not personally identifiable information. But I went back to 2015. And out in 2015, out of 11 shootings, 8 were adult men. These are the shooters. 8 were adult men. 1 was a married couple, 1 student, and 1 were multiple people involved.
Yeah.
In 2016, out of 14 shootings, 10 were adult men, 2 were students, 1 multiple, and 1 male law officer was the shooter. Not Now that's not in the progress of his duties. In 2017, out of 22 shooters, we can see a trend here.
Yeah.
20 were adult men. There was one student and one multiple shooters. In 2018, out of 19 shooters, 15 were adult men, 2 adult women, and 2 were students. This year, yesterday there was 18. Today, as of today, there are 19. 11 were adult men, 3 were students, and 5 were multiple shooters.
Damn.
So we're seeing the trend that most of these shooters in mass shootings are adult men. A few of them are students.
A few.
Now, not many of these people are the people we would think of as going nuts and starting a shooting, which is, students unhappy with their lives, being bullied. It looks like we really do need to focus on adult men. Now, we absolutely could go into the adult men and see who those adult men were.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that they were adult men who had been exposed to extreme violence and did not know how to handle their lives anymore. More of them were possibly gang members. I don't know. I did not actually go looking who the men were.
Now, this is me supposing. This is not based on any fact, but I don't think they tend to include gang violence in that. And my supposing is that because gang violence is, when we think of mass shootings, we think of senseless or religion-based, but mainly senseless. And with gang violence, I think people feel like they have an understanding of why it happens. It's usually a territorial thing or drugs related. So I don't think that when people talk about mass shootings, they tend to include gang violence for that reason. And I could be wrong. I'm just supposing here.
Well, I'm not actually including just gang violence, but these men could have been members of gangs.
Yeah.
Who, for some reason or other, and when I say gangs, I am including extremist groups.
Okay, militia.
Extremist terrorist groups.
And see, I think most people make a distinction because they are different sections, different subsects. I would make a distinction between a militia and like a gang because they're just different. They really are.
Gang violence has not really included the 1920s shootouts we would think of.
That's mob.
That is not really the gang violence of today.
No.
Gang violence today is far different. Terroristic violence, terrorist violence easily includes mass shootings because they want it to be public. They want to scare you senseless. They want you to be so scared you don't come out of your homes, you don't vote, you don't do anything, you don't participate in society anymore.
Yeah.
That's what we have to prevent. We need people to feel safe or at least confident.
Yeah.
I'd like people to feel confident in the law enforcement to be able to trust them to help protect them from that violence. And in certain cases and certain shootings, they were there within a minute, 2 minutes, which is great. In certain cases, it's very difficult because you don't know where the shooting is coming from. So they don't know where to go. one of the things that I'd like to encourage people to do when you know you're in a dangerous situation, try to identify things that are happening. Yes, by all means, that very one thing, the very first thing, get away from the shooter, get away from the area, get away from the danger.
Mm-hmm.
But as you are getting away, try to remember the things you are seeing and the things you are hearing, and tell the first law enforcement person you see everything that you have heard, everything you have seen.
I'm going to put a caveat in there. Now, one of the things they tell us is when the police come in, when the law enforcement comes in, if they haven't caught the shooter yet, they're going to be looking for the shooter. So they may not pay any attention to you.
Well, no, if you are away from,
okay, if you're away, yeah.
If you have gotten past the point where you can be harmed, past those barricades, inevitably there will be somebody there. Tell somebody, I was here. This is what I heard. This is what I saw.
Yeah.
Try to remember the number of people. Did you see people laying on the ground? Did you see people shot? It is a horrific thing, but the more information that you can give the officers, the more capable they will be in being able to respond and shut down that violence as quickly as possible.
And another thing I'd like to add, I'm grateful that you did all that research and you've got this statistic about who the shooters tend to be. But I'd also like people to remember that we don't really know who it's going to be. It could be somebody you don't suspect.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things they say, when I take the training is, some of the warning signs are the person is saying, anti-American sentiment, or they just seem really disgruntled in their job and things like that. They've been through a divorce, stuff like that. But they also make a point that the person could have no warning signs whatsoever. And my takeaway is you don't really know what's inside anyone. You just don't know. And so with that in mind, if you hear someone saying things that are threatening, please tell someone. Don't keep that to yourself. People need to know. I think about that. Sometimes I get frustrated at work and I just want to say, I hate everybody and all this stuff, but I don't, because I'm like, I don't want anyone to misinterpret my frustration as, true, like violent intent or something. So, if you hear something, say something, because it's much better to be proactive and get someone than to say, oh, I'm sure it's fine, and be sorry later.
And there's a question too. What is the difference between I don't like my job and a threat?
Well, I get frustrated. I say, I hate this stuff. This is stupid. Whatever. I hate this. I never threaten anyone. I never specifically say I'm going to do something. I'm going to take it out on anyone. I guess it's hard to know. It really is hard to know.
It is hard to know, but you right there, you brought it up. I should. If you're hearing words in anticipation of a plan,
they're going to be sorry. They're going to get it.
They're going to be sorry. Not they're going to be sorry because I'm going to take them all to court.
Right. That's different.
They're going to be sorry. I'm going to make them sorry. I'm going to make them all hurt. I'm going to get their families. I'm going to make them pay.
When they least expect it.
when they least expect it.
Yeah.
These are, when the hairs on the back of your neck are going up, it could be innocent, but it could be a threat. And it's better to make sure that if you don't, and there are some jobs in which if you don't trust your superiors, you should probably go to law enforcement and let them know. I don't know if this is anything, but this is what I heard, and I'm pretty concerned. It felt very scary to me.
And trust your instinct. You can feel if something feels wrong. I mean, if you hear someone and they're just, like, oh, I'm so tired of this sucks, whatever, you can kind of feel a lot of the time if they're just blowing off steam. And I think if you really listen to your instincts, you can tell if someone is truly acting threateningly.
Yes.
And that's not okay for them to do. Even if you think they're just, there's nothing behind it, they won't ever actually do anything, they don't need to be threatening. You need to go to someone about it because they don't need to be threatening people. They don't need to be scaring other people. They need to be told that's not okay.
And especially if you are getting threatening emails, threatening texts, even if you don't know who they're from,
report it.
Absolutely. 100% report it, because you as a target matter.
Yeah.
You as a person. It doesn't matter if you are Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're Wiccan, if you're Christian, if you're, part of the Church of Satan, which, look, you are protected citizens. Go. And I have to remind people, we're talking about the United States, because I don't know the laws in other countries, and I'm not familiar with mass shootings in other countries. But absolutely, even if you're not a citizen, you're still supposed to be protected.
Well, you're supposed to be, yeah. If you are a person in this country,
to be protected. Tell somebody you trust that you are getting those threats.
Mm-hmm.
Prevention is always best.
Right.
100%.
And also documentation.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to know that this is happening in case it escalates. You may think, oh, he's just blowing off hot air. He says he's going to, put me in the basement, but he doesn't mean it. Well, that escalates, and one day he may mean it. So you need to have it on record this is happening, so that when he finally, if he does something, the police will be like, oh my God, he's been building up to this. We need to act right away.
Yeah, if you don't show up at work,
people need to be
it could be because you're just sick, or it could be because somebody actually decided to go through on those threats, and you may not be the only person. You may be part of an entire plan, and we want you to be safe.
Right.
Don't find somebody you trust. Somebody. Pick one person out of everybody around you to tell.
And maybe document things. Keep letters, keep emails, keep everything. And if you're in one of those areas where you go to the police and they don't care, or they tell you you're being silly, if you can, leave.
Yes.
Now, it's not easy for everyone to leave. I know that. But if you think you can leave. Go stay with a sister. Go stay with a friend. Do something. Get yourself out of that situation if you can.
Tell the next police department.
Yeah.
If you don't trust your police department, tell the next one.
Go somewhere where they'll believe you, where they'll listen.
Or a fire department. Many fire departments now do have terrorist training.
And I wouldn't have thought about that. I wouldn't have thought about going to a police department.
fire departments are.
Fire department.
Yeah. It's not something you would think of every day.
I want to know.
But fire departments are just as dependable as police departments, and
Good.
a fire department may be able to make the police department pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very respected in the community.
And you need it on record. I mean, like I said, if somebody doesn't believe you, keep going until someone believes you. Don't stop.
Yeah.
Because this is your life. And I'm not even thinking about terrorism. I'm thinking about like domestic violence or something like that. You need to keep talking until someone listens. Don't be shy.
Definitely because prevention is
That's your
always
life.
better than having to deal with an active shooting situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, and back to the active shooting, I mean, I want to reiterate, you don't always know what's going to happen. I'm sure the people in Pensacola didn't wake up and think, oh, I might be hit today.
Nobody in that Hasidic market
knew that was going to happen.
Nobody who visited the market, they may not even have been Jewish in the market. They may have just been shot in there. Nobody who walked in there thought, well, I might get shot today.
They were trying to live their lives, trying to be American citizens, which I like to believe that's what we promise people. You can live your life peacefully, free of worry, live happily. That's in the Constitution, liberty and all that stuff. And that's what I believe we promised to people. Yeah. And those people did not see our promise that day. And it just breaks my heart.
Now, there is the other end of the spectrum where somebody may come to you to say, you know, I feel like this person is really scary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And again, if they don't feel comfortable, it may be an illegal immigrant that comes to you and says, I don't feel safe. Then you should be, as a citizen, you should pass that information on to, these threats have been occurring in my work, school, community, and it's making people feel uncomfortable. Even if you can't tell them exactly who said it, you should let somebody know.
Yeah, I would be very careful with that because the way things are nowadays, the agency might come and say, oh, where exactly is this? Oh, okay. Well, let's come in. We're going to deport everybody.
That's why it's that's why if they come to you, it might be better to use generalities.
I wouldn't give any names.
You don't necessarily have to know the person involved. If they trust you enough to say, I'm scared, this person is going to, because this person said they got a gun, they got a bomb, they're going to hurt people. That could be a credible threat.
Maybe. I've never called the FBI, but that might be a time to call the FBI if you think it's going to be a hate crime. If the people come to you are, say, Hispanic, and they're worried that there's a group of people who are, anti-immigration, and they're like surrounding them and they might do something, that might be the time to call FBI. I would also, now this is just me talking, I don't really know what I'm talking about, so please nobody take it as, the word of God or anything, but I would also see if the community could come together in that case, because when you have immigrants, there's usually a strong community. And I would say everyone needs to come together and watch, look out. Don't let people alone, everyone needs to stick together and kind of make sort of a spiritual boundary around, and hopefully if there's enough presence of people, then the other people won't try anything. That's just a thought. Ultimately, going to the FBI would probably be the best thing.
I'm not. Well, my initial one is to go to the local police department. But as we've seen, the local police, it really depends on
Where you are.
how you feel about your local officials.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another thing. Know who your local officials are. Take enough time to go and say hello to some of them. Find out who these people are. These are people who work in your community.
Yeah.
It is probably a good idea to discover, do they live near you? Do they live in the community? Do they live a bunch of cities away? Are they just hired to come in and police your place?
That happens. It's really
weird. It does happen quite frequently. Some police departments have coffee with a cop.
That's good. Yeah.
I know Corvallis, Oregon does that. I haven't had time to see if Coos Bay has them. But taking a little while to know who your police department officials are will lead you to understand how trustworthy they are. Are these people that you want to bring these concerns to? Or should you be going directly to, somebody like the FBI? Because the local officials are better for immediate threats.
Yeah, like a fire or a shootout as it's ongoing or something.
An active shooting situation. If there are threats, it depends how trustworthy they are. So it really kind of hinges on you, the citizen, to know who these people are, who are responsible for law enforcement in your city or town.
And you make a good point. I mean, after you go to coffee with a cop, you may realize that they may not have your best interest at heart, but you need to know that before anything happens. You need to assess the situation before anything happens so you know what to do if suddenly a threat comes up. And another thing I thought of, if you're in a close-knit community, say like a Hispanic community or something like that, you could also go to your representative. If you think something's happening, maybe, call your representative's office. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but that's an option. What do you think?
Your representatives could be a good option depending on how big your area is. Now, me attempting to walk into Peter DeFazio's office is going to be, that's going to be pretty silly. I don't know my officials here in Coos. I've been here for a month in Coos Bay. I don't know who my officials are. But I haven't necessarily seen anything that would lead me to believe that I should have anything to fear from Coos Bay police. But being my background, I'm a middle-aged white woman.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, well, aside from being female, we really don't have anything to set us apart from the majority.
Yeah.
So we don't have really as much to be afraid of as, say, an undocumented person. And which brings me to, that's just find somebody you trust. Now, if you need to report through someone else, if you need to let somebody else know, that they've been hearing threats, do that. If you can't contact the FBI, if you can't contact the local police, if you can't contact local representatives, let a local citizen know. And also, when we're talking about, like, say, undocumented people, there are usually community leaders who you could go to. They're usually
Neighborhood watch.
That's a good point. Yeah.
There are neighborhood watches in numerous areas, and
Mhm.
there are signs in some areas, you know. So you could contact by email or on message boards. You could contact neighborhood watch programs and let them know, and I'm in this area and I don't feel safe because I've heard these things.
Something's going on.
Yeah, that could be something you could consider. Message boards are fine. I mean, if you have to do it that way, as long as you get the word out.
Mhm. And I think everyone has an idea of how comfortable they feel with the authority around them.
Yeah.
And with these close-knit communities, people talk, and people generally know you don't go to this authority for this thing. You go here. You know, people generally know
Yeah.
what's safe to contact and who's not.
Now, if all that fails,
Mhm.
and you get in an active shooter situation,
Yeah.
you've attempted to run,
Yeah.
you're blocked off,
Mm-hmm.
you've attempted to hide.
Mm-hmm.
When you're hiding, choose a place low to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
any place you can close a door and block it off
Mm-hmm.
is a great idea.
I know what I was going to say before. You want to be low to the ground because shots tend to go a little bit above where you would be.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a war zone, and yes, we learn about that too. If you're in a war zone and you think there might be explosive devices, you don't want to be close to the ground because the shrapnel from that will stay close to the ground.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, what you're going to experience is a 22 or a 45.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two most used hand weapons that can be hidden on a person's body.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have seen plenty of ARs
Mm-hmm.
and automatic rifles that have been used in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're dealing with hand weapons, generally a 22 or 45, what you want to protect the vulnerable areas of your body, your head, your chest are your vulnerable areas. Get down to the ground, block up as much space between you and the shooter as possible.
Yep.
If you're with a group of people, spread out. Do not clump it. I realize it is human nature to come together and hold on to one another for support.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the worst things you can do in a shooting situation. Don't give a shooter a clump,
a big
target. The more spread out you become, the more confusing a target becomes, and they find it difficult to pick a target. It's more likely the police will get to you before they shoot any specific person.
Yeah.
If you can't hide, keep moving. Don't stop. Move to a space where you can put stuff in between you. If you're in a store, put aisleways between you and the shooter.
Or mattresses if you're in a store. Anything.
Or store furniture. If you get trapped in an aisleway, start throwing.
Well, and this comes to number 3.
Yes.
You have escape, hide, fight. If
Fight.
you have no other option and you think it's do or die right now, then they say fight. And if you're going to fight, you need to commit to it. This is one thing they tell us. You can't do it halfway. If you decide you're going to fight, you need to go in and do it, because at that point, you're a target. You made yourself a target. So if you're gonna fight, you need to take everything you can as weapons and just throw it. Just like and that's your last option because it may not work. It just really may not
If
work.
you are throwing items
Mm-hmm.
at a shooter, it is extremely hard to shoot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
In the case of knives,
Mm-hmm.
if they've got a knife, you want to be as far away as possible, throwing things from a distance.
That makes sense.
If there is a gun,
Mm-hmm.
you just throw and throw and throw. If you are close, keep throwing whatever comes to hand.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware that if a weapon that could kill them comes to hand,
Mm-hmm.
you may have to kill to save your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Put that into your head. You may have to kill somebody to save your life or the lives of people around you.
Yeah.
If it comes down to that, you have to be willing to do it. That was the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around in training, was the ability to think I can take somebody else's life.
I know.
Your first instinct is to freeze, to not move. As a human being, we just want to not move, because that usually saves our life.
Yeah.
In a shooting situation, that's not going to do. In a fight situation, that's not going to do any good.
Mm-mm.
While you're hiding, great idea.
Freeze.
Freeze, down low. Just spread out, freeze. Don't move.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
If they're looking straight at you, yell, scream, throw things, be threatening, be things they don't want you to be.
Right. You need to go hog wild crazy. This is your carte blanche. Go hog wild crazy. Everything you ever thought about doing, do it.
Yep.
Just go crazy.
After the situation is over, you may either be faced with a situation where they have passed by you.
Yeah.
If they pass you by because you're too threatening, you do have choices. Your first choice is to keep running.
Keep running, get away.
If you are able to help other people get away,
do,
because there are many people who cannot get away in those situations.
People in wheelchairs.
People who cannot move quickly, children.
Yeah.
Drop your possessions.
Yeah.
Your wallet is of absolutely no use, and it doesn't matter, because more than likely the police are going to want it anyway as evidence.
Yeah.
Drop it. Save people, not things.
Right. Don't worry about that. Your purse will be there tomorrow when you need it.
You can always get another driver's license. There isn't going to be another, kid.
Another you for a kid. Yeah.
Pick up the kid and run.
And our training, one of the things, like I said, our training is from the civilian perspective. And they say specifically, you do have a duty. If you see an injured coworker or someone who needs your help them. Because that is your duty, to help your fellow workers. So if you can help someone, help them. Don't be the person who's like, I'm going to save myself. Don't do that. Help people if you can.
My next recommendation is for veterans. Do not, under any circumstances, be the hero.
Right.
Okay? Don't wade into that battle if you don't have to.
Mhm.
If you are in the fight situation, we all know what it feels like to be trained to put ourselves in between people and the shooter.
Mhm.
Remember what you've been trained to do.
Mhm.
Remember the intimidation tactics that you've been taught.
Mhm.
Don't jump into hand-to-hand combat.
No.
You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Let the police deal with it. If you can get them to move off, do that.
Mhm.
If you can get them to refocus on something else, do that.
Mhm.
If by some miracle you can just get them to put down the weapon,
That would be nice. Mhm.
talk them out of it.
Mhm.
Hey, you don't have to do this. I'm your friend.
Mhm.
That's an option for people who have been trained in that situation. And there have been people in the military who have been trained to do that.
Mhm.
I was not trained to do that.
Yeah.
I was trained, run, hide, fight.
And I'm happy with that. I am not a hero. I don't have any special skills. I would be much better hiding or running.
If you have those fantasies in your head of doing the Hollywood grab the guns, and smash your head on the counter and just don't.
Just go and
Leave that as the beautiful fantasy it is, and write it down in a book. We will we'll pay to read it.
or learn to be a stunt person if that's
Learn to
really
be a
what
stunt
you
double. Yeah.
right. Go to Hollywood and do it, but that's not real life.
Don't do that in real life.
Please
Remember that in reality,
don't.
this person is probably just as scared,
Yeah.
just as terrified, just as angry
Mhm.
as anybody else, and they will do whatever they have to in order to survive, just like you are.
Mhm.
And if they have the weapon, they will shoot you first and
Right.
ask questions later.
Right. They're probably going to win. If they have a gun, they're probably going to win.
If they have a gun, they have a gun, it depends on how much ammunition they have,
Mm.
but you never know.
Mm-mm.
You never know. They could have another clip in that pants pocket.
Mhm.
They could have multiple that you don't see.
Mhm.
So be smart. Don't be the hero.
No. My feeling is our taxes pay for the SWAT team and everybody else, and they train every day. They're up to date. They wake up every day thinking this may happen today. Let them do their jobs.
Yeah.
Our job is to survive. That is our job. And so we'll do our job and survive.
Counters, and supermarket aisleways make admirable barriers.
I didn't even think about that. Okay.
If you're in that situation, look, the supermarket cashier is not going to care if you're hiding behind their counter.
Yeah.
They really are not.
No, they're going to be hiding too. But I will also say if you can make it back to the storeroom or make it out the back, that would be preferable. But if you find you're in a place where you can't run because the active shooter is there, then yeah, get behind the counter or the deli counter or something like that. But preferably
piles of things make good hiding places.
That's a good point.
Piling things on top of you.
Yeah.
Goodness sake, just pile an entire bundle of toilet paper on top of you and stay still.
They might still know that something's amiss though. If it's all
Yeah, but if that's the only hiding place
Yeah,
you
if that's the only
have,
thing you have, do it.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know if you're in a grocery store, and if you're in the middle of a grocery store, you don't have that many places to go.
Yeah.
Maybe clear off a shelf and hide in the shelf and try to bring the stuff back into the shelf with you. I don't know.
Deli counters make great
Yeah.
hiding places.
Deli counters or the back room of the deli.
Back room of delis. Now,
Butcher.
cold rooms are not lockable, but they
Oh,
are thick. They are thick.
that's true. And I mean, you could put some shelves in front of them. I'm
You
not
might be
sure.
able to put shelves in front of them. Yes.
Yeah, and the shooter may not think to go there. He may
Yeah.
not even think to go there.
They
So
may be moving too fast to even think about going there.
yeah, I mean there are options. Just think about your options, and if you can run, run. If you can't run, hide. Fight last, because that's your Hail Mary. If you're in a position where you have to fight, that is a Hail Mary.
Yep.
And you may not make it out.
It can. We've seen this can happen to, in America, to anybody.
Yeah.
At
100%
any time. So just understand your options when it comes to an active shooter situation.
Yeah.
If your child's school is participating in active shooter drills, you should be talking to your child about why these drills are occurring and remind them this is a preventative measure. We have these drills like we have fire drills so that we know what to do. We can remain calm. Everybody knows what to do. Instill confidence in your child that your teacher, the principal, other staff know what to do.
They'll guide you.
A child who is too terrified to follow instructions is a target.
Right.
Encourage your child to be confident in the instructions they are given and practice calming techniques in very stressful situations. If you're in an area where gunfire occurs, these are things you should be talking about regularly.
Definitely.
Who are people who do this? Talk with them about why this might happen. Talk with your child about terrorism. Because the more that they think, the more that they reason, the more they're going to understand. And it's not too early to start, even in kindergarten, to understand trust.
Well, God help me. We looked at Sandy Hook. I mean, it happens to first graders in kindergarten. It happens. And we don't want them, they're going to be scared, but we want to try to have them be as focused as they can in that situation. We want to keep the panicking to a minimum. So that's why it's important to practice this. As much as it takes for someone to know what to do without having to think about it.
And we need to understand, we need to help our children understand there are many different types of people out there. Just because somebody is different doesn't mean that they are necessarily dangerous.
Right.
It's the language they use that will identify danger versus they're just different. Okay, I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
Does not mean I'm dangerous.
I'm dangerous, or I wear a hijab, that doesn't mean I'm going to kill you.
That
you know?
doesn't mean that I'm a terrorist. Exactly. It's these specific things that children need to understand, specific threats that are danger, not because anybody is a specific religion or because somebody comes from oh, we're back again. Oh, it was just a hiccup. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, no. Can you hear me, Che?
Yep, perfectly.
Oh, no. Lola? Nothing? Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, but you can't. Oh, no. And I have to go to the restroom really bad.
I can't hear you.
Okay. I got to go to the restroom really bad. Uh-oh.
Yeah, go.
Ah! Can you hear me now? No. Okay. Well, I know Tux can hear me. Oh, no. I gotta go to the restroom.
Yeah, just.
Like.
Go.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I guess y'all can hear me probably, right? Can y'all hear me? There's nobody here. I can't hear Linda, so she's kind of gone away for a little bit. I don't know if it's me or what. It just happened all of a sudden. So y'all can hear me. I can't hear Linda. Yeah.
Well, it's been quite a discussion here on episode 74 about active shooters. We hope that you have gotten some enlightenment from our advice here today, from our different points of perspective. We hope that you will try some of the beers that we have tried here today. And we hope that you'll take a look at the notes and the links. Oh my goodness. Silliness. Should I start over?
Can she not
not hear you now, even.
No, she can't. She can't hear me at all.
She needs to re-plug it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Let it go.
Well, I can start over with the exit. Well, this has been quite a discussion here on episode 74 about active shooters. We hope that you have gained some enlightenment about some of the advice and some of the perspectives that we've given here today. We hope that you try some of the beers that we have tried here on the show today as well. Now, if you would like to try our Humble Bundle is Data Science by No Starch Press. We'd like to remind you that any Humble Bundle you try through our link that we will put out on Twitter does help us to pay our way through SoundCloud. And we appreciate all the support that you give us. We'll be sure to put that Humble Bundle link out on Twitter right now. And you can see that Humble Bundle. Also, join us on MeWe. Please do join us on MeWe. You can see Lola Laracy at Lola Laracy on Twitter. You can find me at L Tepler on Twitter. You can find Beery GE on Twitter, or you can find us at Beery Good Entertainment on MeWe. Share with us some of your favorite beers, some of your favorite moments of the day, and also your opinions and topics for the show. We really hope that you've had an interesting time with us here today, and we will see you again next time. Have a great beer, and please have a great night.